Good afternoon everyone, it's Debbie Evans and Rolo here, and it's the end of National Storytelling Week, and we thought today we would read to you from the second book in the Secret Adventures of Rolo series, the Chilvester Passage, and this is all about Rolo's adventure in space. Rolo, you're going to love this next adventure, said Julia, as I stepped once more into the Athelstan tree and wondered where I was bound. This is unlike anything you've ever done before. You have to be a brave little dog, and we can't wait to hear all about your adventure. Where am I going? I wondered. To the USSR, what you would know as Russia. Baikonur Cosmodrome, the first and largest space station in the world, to be precise. Do you mean I'm going to travel in space? I said, in awe. Do you want to? Asked Julia mischievously. Isn't it a bit dangerous? I was fighting to keep down my natural terrier shake. Don't worry, Paddy Paws. Athelstan has picked a particular space mission for you on board Sputnik 9. We know this one goes well. I couldn't help but think how jealous the other dogs would be. How cool was that? Rolo, Astro Dog. No, wait, if it's a Russian space mission, then I'll be a Cosmo Dog. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, vla! The loud and steady countdown boomed over the tannoy. I braved myself and felt the G-force wobbling my furry face as we took off at goodness knows how many miles per hour. I looked around at my companions, or maybe I should say comrades. There was a guinea pig, absolutely beside itself with fear in the bottom of its cage, and a handful of white mice. I'm not too keen on rodents since the Black Death adventure, but hey-ho, they're my travelling companions, and I have to be polite. I smiled and said Dobro jutro, which I believe means good morning. Their pink eyes stared at me blankly, well, except for the guinea pig whose eyes were still tightly shut. Maybe they weren't Russian speaking. I can't believe it was my bad pronunciation. Great, I thought. I won't get much out of this lot, so let's try the cosmonaut. I tried to make polite conversation with Ivan Ivanovich. I knew his name because it was sewn onto his spacesuit. He just stared ahead in stony silence. It was creepy. I forgave his bad manners as I thought he must be really concentrating on all the switches and levers in front of him for takeoff. Perhaps he didn't speak English, and I knew my Russian was somewhat limited. It was then that the guinea pig opened its eyes and piped up, "He's a dummy, you dummy." I looked more closely at the plastic jawline and shiny hands and suddenly felt rather silly. I remember overhearing the smiley lady telling the floppy-haired boy that when she was young, she didn't realise that the heroes of her favourite television programme, Thunderbirds, were actually puppets. She never saw the strings. Suddenly, I knew how she felt. At least the guinea pig spoke English. That was the start. I knew that, I lied. I don't like the takeoff. Gets me every time. The guinea pig looked down at her claws and the scratch marks she'd made on the bottom of her cage. She said her name was Eva. "You mean you've been up into space before?" I asked incredulously. "Yeah, several times. The middle bit's all right, but the takeoff and re-entry are a bit tricky." I must admit, I looked at this furry pencil case on legs with new respect, if she really was a seasoned space traveller. Don't worry about the mice. They never speak to anyone. I sometimes wonder if they're KGB or perhaps they're American secret agents. You never know who you're dealing with these days. What an interesting thought. I wondered whether a white mouse could spy or whether it could possibly be bugged. "What happens next?" I asked the experienced Cosmo guinea pig. "Look out the window and tell me what you can see," Eva replied. "Well, I can see a big round thing. I guess that's Earth, where we've just come from." "I've heard that it's possible to see the Great Wall of China from here. Can you see anything that looks like that?" she asked. I peered out from the porthole again and saw what looked like a chain linking over a corner of the Earth. "Yes, I can see it." Quick, let me out of this cage. I want to see it for myself. I unfastened the latch and the guinea pig climbed out. The mice didn't look too interested in sightseeing, so I bolted the cage door again. Hurry, let me stand on your shoulder. We don't have much time. I obligingly laid down flat so that Eva could climb up, and then I put my paws up on the ledge of the hatch so she could see out from the porthole. Wow, see how the earth curves. See how half is in shadow. The intelligent guinea pig was very excited to be able to see more than the bars of her cage. What happens next? I asked. Well, we just hang about up here for a bit. Things will liven up in a minute. The dummy will be programmed to do a few things, and when we get back to Earth, they'll do some scientific experiments on our heart rate and so on to see how we coped with the flight. They need to run a few tests on us before they can send a man up into space. I hear that's coming soon. Naturally, it will be a Russian who gets to the moon first. I glanced over at the mice, and this statement made them twitch their whiskers uneasily and swap nervous glances as if they were in silent disagreement with the guinea pig. Speaking of the moon, I bet you thought there was a face of a man on it, didn't you? Look over there. I followed the direction Eva was pointing and then started laughing. Clear as anything, I could see the silhouette of a bunny on a skateboard. I would never ever be able to look at the full moon again without thinking of this space flight. Whoa, suddenly my feet left the ground and I was floating about inside the space capsule. The mice were bobbing around at the top of their cage. Eva was on the ceiling. Only Ivan Isovich seemed unmoved by the whole experience. What's happening now? I shouted to Eva. Nothing at all to worry about. Enjoy the feeling of weightlessness. Try a backflip, she encouraged. I launched myself backwards and was surprised at the ease with which I turned full circle and then landed the right way up again. I say landed, although my paws were still dangling in mid-air. This is amazing, I thought. Wouldn't the floppy-haired boy love to have a go at this? Do you think you can climb down the wall and let us out of the cage so we can join in the fun? Squeaked one of the mice in what I thought sounded a bit like an American accent. I'll try, hold on, it's not easy fighting against gravity, I replied, loving the sensation. I found a few footholds and held on with all my strength as I scaled down the inside of the spacecraft, head first. I was really struggling to remain on the ground and it took all my strength and concentration to grip the bars of the cage and undo the latch again. Like a cork held down in a bucket of water and suddenly released, the 3 white mice shot up to the top of the spacecraft and started floating about in free fall positions. I released my grip on the cage and went up to join them. We were all turning somersaults and giggling and bumping into each other. Only Ivan Ivanovich didn't join in the fun. I wondered if I should unstrap him too, but decided against it. What fun could a plastic man possibly have in a gravity-free zone? After a while, Eva shouted over the laughter, "Brace yourselves, it's time to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere." Without further warning, we all plummeted to the floor of the spacecraft, and I heard a tremendous whooshing and roaring in my ears. Everything went black for a moment. Eventually, when the door of the spacecraft was opened, I was first to jump out and jumped up and licked the hand and then under the chin of the surprised scientist who had bent down to open the hatch. I could hear puzzled discussions among the humans as to where the dog had come from and why the guinea pig and mice were running around on the floor and not still fastened in their cage. Only Ivan Ivanovich was where he should be, his plastic face not giving away any of our secrets. I decided my best course of action was to run and hide and then get back to the time tunnel as quickly as possible. There was no way I was going to be wired up and monitored in a laboratory experiment. I was on such an adrenaline high. Yulia met me in the tunnel. "Ground control to Major Rolo." I slept very soundly in my basket for the remainder of the night. I wished I could show the floppy-haired boy the bunny on the skateboard. He'd love that. Perhaps he'll see it for himself from the back garden next time there's a full moon. Opening the kitchen door in the morning, the floppy-haired boy said, I looked a little spacey. So that's the end of that chapter. Just before I close for today, I would just like to dip into the first book in the series, Athelstan and the Time Tunnel, because there are nature notes in between the adventure chapters in this book, and I'd like to just read you the nature notes for February. Dar's Country Wisdom for February. If Candlemas Day, which was the 2nd of February, be fair and bright, winter will have another flight. If Candlemas Day be cloudy and rain, then winter will not come again. February is sometimes called the gateway of the year, and the snowdrop lights the path with tiny white lamps. Male blackbirds with sleek, glossy plumage fight over their chosen mate. Coltsfoot yellow flowers appear along the bank even before their leaves. Young nettles push their way through even the hardest of earth. Early celandines peep through, and the pink tips of the daisy flower are a welcome sight. Willow trees unfold their silver catkins, and lapwings are pairing with incredible aerobatic displays, their distinctive cry of pee-wit ringing out. The song thrush becomes more melodic as the days lengthen. Listen out for a yellowhammer crying out for a little bit of bread and no cheese. Moles are active. You will see the fresh molehills breaking out of even the best manicured lawn. Moles apparently work for 3 hours and then rest for 3 hours, not distinguishing between night and day. Blackbirds, house sparrows, herons, rooks, magpies, ravens, starlings and tawny owls will all begin nesting this month, Valentine's Day being the traditional time to choose a mate in the bird world. So even though these nature notes were taken from something written about 90 years ago, they're still pretty much true to this day. So thank you very much for listening. Rolo's almost asleep here. It's stopped raining. We've got a bit of sunshine, and have a lovely weekend. And I will be back on Monday afternoon at 3:30 with another chapter from The Secret Adventures of Rolo. And if you've missed any of them over the last few weeks, you'll find them on my YouTube channel. You just need to search for Debbie Evans and you'll see a picture of Rolo. Thank you very much. Goodbye.